Joining us is former Secretary of State, former CIA Director, Fox News contributor, and also the brand new director of the Liberty University Center on Law and Government, Mr. Mike Pompeo. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. What do you make of the renewed focus on testing nuclear weapons?
Trey, it's great to be with you again. Look, I think President Trump is onto something that's really important here. We, the United States, has not tested its nuclear weapons in an awfully long time. We need to not just model and test, but we need to know for sure that they'll work. Other countries, as you said in your opening, have done this already. They're ahead of us. There'll be a real question around whether we should actually conduct an explosive test. That's a harder call from my point of view. We need to make sure these work. The whole central thesis, deterring others from using their nuclear weapons, depends on not only our confidence, but their confidence that our systems will actually work. And we need to make sure that they do. So I'm full on board with President Trump's idea to say, look, let's make sure our systems are capable, demonstrated so. And in that way, we can make sure that none of these horrible, terrible weapons that he's spoken about so often are ever employed again.
All right, Mr. Secretary, your resume is truly unique in the truest sense of the word. So let me ask you about other areas of weaponry that might give you pause. Fighter jets, ships, submarines. In your judgment, is our military where it needs to be given the disparate, different kinds of threats around the globe?
Trey, there's a lot of work that has to be done. Deterrence is always temporary, right? You know this. We've talked about this before. You have to stay at the front. You have to stay capable of deterring all of these threats. There's two that come to mind in particular, three maybe. One, you mentioned submarines. Others are building out more capable sets of submarines. They're hard to track. It's why we have such a capable submarine force in our own arsenal. We need to make sure that we never are in a position where we can't identify and track our adversary submarines so they can surprise us. Second, we've seen a lot happening in space. The Chinese Communist Party has built some very capable, very fast weapon systems in space that they can deploy. We need to make sure our model of both missile defense and our ability to counter them is real. And then finally, we all live this every day. Cyber risk for American businesses and for the United States government is also very real. We need to make sure both our deterrent is available and that our ability to counter those cyber threats with offensive capabilities remains world-class at first. I think we're there to Trey. We are there today, Trey, but we can never let up.
All right, I like spanning the globe with you because you actually know the globe. Venezuela, what do you see playing out there and how soon?
President Trump has rightly grabbed this central thesis, which is that the Chinese and the Iranians are in Venezuela and the Russians as well, alongside, of course, our Cuban friends. We need to make sure we are deterring what they're doing down there, which is to try to undermine our country. The attacks on these ships are wholly appropriate. They're bringing drugs to kill Americans. We need to make sure we prosecute the narco-terrorists, the jihadists in the region, and then we need to put pressure on the regime in Venezuela so that one day the leadership in Venezuela and the people of Venezuela can have a country that is just simply a normal nation living peacefully in the Caribbean along our southern edge.
All right, let's finish up in the Middle East. Hamas doesn't want the president's peace plan to succeed. How can it survive the peace plan despite the terror group? How does he keep this together? I mean, I've been done in several thousand years, so how could this time be different?
Yeah, this time there's an opportunity, but it's not easy, Trey, for sure. Hamas is not going to go quietly. They're not going to give up their weapons voluntarily. I think we can all agree to that. So we're going to have to continue to punish them, and the Israelis will take the lead in that. And then we need to develop a security operation there that it doesn't have to be American, but it has to be not connected to Hamas and not connected to the United Nations. Neither of those have been able to deliver. If President Trump can put that in place and can keep the peace and stability, then Israel will be secure and safe. They don't have to worry about another October 7th. And more importantly, the Gulf Arab nations in the region will know that they too are no longer under threat from Hamas or Hezbollah or the Iranian regime, but we can actually have the peace and prosperity that the Abraham Accords proffered. I'm glad to see Kazakhstan has joined them. And we can build out a model that looks like a Middle East that is simply focused on modernity and prosperity and not the extremism we've seen for, goodness, you talked about thousands of years, but it's certainly decades that we've had American soldiers having to go fight and risk their lives there, Trey. That's not in America's interest.
Mike Pompeo, with a truly unique background. Thank you for all the various ways that you have served our country and continue to do so, and for joining us on Sunday night.
Thank you, Trey. Bless you. Have a good Sunday.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.